do you think Malaysia has always been led by a prime minister who comes from a Malay-based party, and you happen to be the leader of a multiracial party? Do you think the Malay populace, to speak to in particular, is ready to accept such a leader?
Well, this is the thinking being propounded by some Malays, I should say racists, because what is important is for them to understand the agenda. You know, you can come from a Malay-based party, but totally corrupt and ignore the plight of the place. You can even be a non-Malay, but who can be equally just in their manifestations, humanitarian in their ideals, that can cater for the welfare. And we need to educate people in that regard. But to become a prime minister, or the constitution says a Malay, now you add on that it has to be a Malay-based party. I mean, for all intents and purposes, Keadilan is the majority Malay party. We articulate as far as possible the aspirations and the conscience of the majority of the Malays. But of course, we part dramatically with the approach of UMNO and PAS, because it is not race-based and need-based. Of course, people talk about need-based, but they don't actually fully endorse that policies. But I think we need to educate. I mean, I don't know, do you follow my Facebook? I've been trying very hard, using the Islamic, even classical texts and experience of the Prophet, to say that to be a good Malay, to be a good Muslim, you can't be a racist. It's just impossible. You know, a racist in the whole tradition of Islam is a position that is condemned by the religion. So you have to be very careful. It doesn't mean that I'm not a Malay. I am very Malay. I want to make sure that the position bahasa further enhanced, the quality bahasa. Malaysia Kini has improved substantially the Malay version. I must congratulate you. Yeah, because I'm quite particular about the pedestrian language. It has improved dramatically. I am impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, the welfare, the plight of the majority of the Malays. Look, we're talking about the connectivity in terms of online. But the vast majority of the Malays and the Dayaks and the Kadazans are not having access. And why do you talk about a Malay policy? Why can't you talk about a just policy? We have argued with it, but I think, contrary to what we see on the surface, we are winning the battle.
Yeah, but given I think like at the end of the day, past few years, especially past 2 years, there's been a whipping up of sentiment among at that time the opposition. In terms of trying to round up the fact that the government is dominated or being dominated by the Chinese, whatever it is, the non-Malays. You look at the Attorney General position, a few other positions that's been given to non-Malays and all that, and they have been able to, you look at the recent by-elections, they've been able to win back quite a lot of Malay support. How do you explain that, and how can you overcome that phenomenon? I mean, they've been able to use social media to to get across, to get the message across.
Right. Okay. First, we have to acknowledge, I agree with you, that there has been this growing trend. Racist sentiments, I should say like the right-wing sort of views, which is not peculiar to Malaysia. You can see a rise of fascism in Europe, or Trumpism, whatever, in the States, which is quite worrying. I mean, disconcerting, because it runs contrary to this, human spirit or endeavor. But that's not all. I think for us in Pakatan Harapan, we also try to reflect. Did we take things for granted? Did we just took radical step without having concern to the sentiments on the ground? I would say both. Because of our initial failure to address the Malay sentiments on the ground, we took things for granted, and we kept on harping on the issue of Malay poverty as lazy Malays, or not willing to accept reform or change or modernity. That has further enraged the Malays. And we did not see that sort of a clear policy in trying to enhance, for example, the position of Malay language or literature. What I have suggested to colleagues at that time is that you should put that in place first. And after 3 months, move to English. Then to the other languages, Chinese or Tamil or Arabic or French. On the contrary, what we did was to start having this discourse or policy adjustments on UEC, and which is fair what we promised, but you must reassure the base. Well, I think it's tactical. I mean, if I have my way, I've said, I want to make sure that the policy, the Bahasa policy remains intact. I want every single Malaysian to have the level of competency of Bahasa, which is acceptable. Then you move to explain to them, in this global age, you need English. I survived, even me personally, overseas, when I was kicked out because of English. Not mastery, but at least working language knowledge of English. So I think this is an example. And the economic policies. Of course, we talk about transparency, we talk about good governance. But dealing with issues of abject poverty, then people say we have to survive. I brought ministers, deputy ministers, even to Port Dickson. I remember meeting the fishermen and just said, "Oh, Datuk Sri, thank you very much. Kita ada help, but you know it is 100 ringgit less than what the previous BN government gave." You see, well, we may say, well, then you work harder lah. But you know, to them, 100 ringgit to survive. Some are really poor, and I tried my best. I even spoke up in Parliament, appealing. I think these things are what we have learnt. You know, finally, this is not 1 MDB. This 1 DB is, of course, a horrendous crime. But to harp only on this issue, thinking that people buy that, and then leaving the bread and butter issues, is, of course, a problem.